Howdy guys! Today I'm going to be talking to you about a neat Runemaster build that I have discovered. I favor fire builds in every game I play, and I'm also a mage player. So if you like destroying everything in your path with relative ease, then this is the build for you. To start off, this is a Runemaster build, so we're going to be going mage, and then we're going to be specializing into the Runemaster tree. This build is focused around the Rune Blast spell and the Ice Wall spell, but we're going to be doing some talent adjustments and stuff to make this a fire-centric build. Items for this are very simple. You do not need any special uniques. Pretty much all you're going to do is you're going to stack fire damage, ignite chance, and damage over time, and you're going to just destroy everything. I'll talk a little bit about gear optimization regarding defenses so that you have a little bit more flexibility with getting hit here and there so you're not fully glass cannon. But ultimately, this is a very easy build to pilot and a very easy build to get started on, and it climbs very well through the campaign and the end game content. So without further ado, let's take a look at it. Okay, so let's take a look at what abilities we're using. We're going to be using Flame Ward, Frost Wall, Flame Rush, Elemental Nova, and Rune Bolt. And the way that this build is going to play, basically, is you're going to be dropping Frost Wall and shooting Rune Bolts, and off cooldown, you're going to be using Elemental Nova. Your Flame Rush is just your traversal ability, which is basically just used to get around, but it also does some decent damage as well. And Flame Ward is going to be your defensive cooldown. Now, a major priority with this build for item efficiency is that we want to make sure all damage that we're doing is fire, and that's because we want to make sure that increased damage applies to everything we're doing, not just our main spells. So I have a lot of elemental damage, spell damage, things like that. But, you know, if you come across something that says strictly fire, that's going to be viable for all your abilities at the same time, like this belt here. And as you can tell, my items are not fully optimized for this, but even so, it destroys everything I come across. And that is because we've gone through the trouble with our talents to convert everything we do to one elemental type, starting off with Rune Bolt. Priority is getting over through Arcanist and Pyromantic Bolt to Blazing Flare and Searing Dart. And the reason why is this is going to convert Rune Bolt's damage, which normally cycles between 3 elements, to only fire. Next, pick up Arcane Overcharge and Runic Evocation, because now your Rune Bolt will fire extra projectiles and seek enemies. This is a huge quality of life thing, but it also is going to add a lot more damage when you see the next part of Rune Bolt, which is heading over through Arcane Restoration, Punch Through Metal, Devastator, which makes Rune Bolt explode, and Wrecking Ball, which makes the explosion larger based on your uncapped resistance. This is a vital combination right here. A, it's all fire. B, it explodes. And C, you're firing multiple projectiles that are exploding on impact. And seek. This is the last thing that you're going to want to grab. It is nice to have. Basically, whenever you get a stack of Rune Weave, you're going to get Ward. It's cool. If you really find that you need tankiness, maybe you could take it earlier. I don't recommend it. This stuff is pretty mandatory. So let's move on to Flame Rush. I view this as a utility spell strictly. I know that you can make it deal a ton of damage, but for the sake of this build, I just want to have it be optimized for my utility of getting around. So I go into mana efficiency first and cooldown recovery. And obviously it says double effects with 150% uncapped fire resistance. That means if you do manage to hit 150% fire resistance, it doubles this, which makes it really, really good. I don't think I have that right now, but it's just something to strive for. Next, we go into, you take less damage, and it's doubled against dots. This is extremely good. It just goes into the utility. And we have ward per second during Flame Rush and a burst at the end. Again, This is only a 3-second cooldown, and so getting, you know, 270 ward every 3.5 seconds is really good. There's no two ways about it. This makes all buffs that you get during Flame Rush last afterwards. Essentially, it just gives you more uptime on your damage taken. So you're gonna want to be hitting this every time it's up. Even if you're not trying to traverse, it gives you a damage taken reduction, so it's worth just blasting. Frenzy is a 20% increased attack and cast speed. It's worth taking. Its duration on exit is 1 second. I'm gonna put a second point in this, and then travel faster and further. Again, utility. This shreds fire resistance. That is utility as well, but also damage, so you're going to want to be applying this as often as you can. So flame rushing, again, as often as you can for the damage reduction, but also fire shred, just generally very good. This is going to give you ward whenever you pass through enemies that are ignited. Everything you hit is ignited, so now you're getting ward from passing through enemies as well as just simply using the ability. This, it's an efficient talent point. It does a lot of damage for 1 talent point. There probably could be an argument to be made for just taking another second of Frenzy and getting more cast time. I might do that in the future, but for now I'm experimenting with this, and I will get my other point and probably put it in Smolder and Burn or Fiery Overload. Moving on to Elemental Nova. This is fairly cut and dry. There's not a lot of variability or flexibility here. I do have 1 more point coming in, but you're gonna go straight down to Fire Nova. And then from there, you're gonna fill out an Infernal Prism and get Arcane Projection, which makes it so it's no longer cast around you, it is cast at target location. Priority is you're gonna jump straight to here and get both charges of this. But optimally, you will eventually fill out Immolation as well, because then it will guarantee Ignite. Flame Ward is another entirely utility-based one. This one has more flexibility, and I'm sure that there's other ways that you can do this. I like getting Fire Aura and increasing Fire Aura damage, because so you'll notice when I use Flame Ward, you'll see a ring of fire around me. With this build, I'm doing a lot of flame rushing in, using my Flame Ward, and setting this down. So I'll set that down on a group of enemies, charge through, use this so that they stand in it and they're being hit by it consistently, because I have so much ward during this time, that I felt like it was worth it to get the Fire Aura and Fire Aura damage. But this is pretty much the most important thing. You want to rush directly to this, put 2 points in dilation to start, then get this, and eventually put the last point, because I mean, obviously 250% increased fire damage is kind of insane. Then we'll get 1 point in here, so we can get down to barrier and 40% less hit damage while this is up. That's a lot of damage reduction, because that means if we have this 40% reduced, after we have procced Runic Eclipse, we're now taking essentially 60% reduced damage from everything, and 30% reduced elemental damage when this is fully leveled up is a lot. That is insane. And this is going to apply after your resistances, right? So say you have 75% reduced, damage from an element. You take 25% of that, then you reduce that further by another 30%. I mean, that's just very good, because you don't need any more damage with this build. Having the utility of these 2 spells is so valuable. So, finally, the most important spell on our bar, we have Frostwall. So to start Frostwall out, you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're gonna fill this. And you'll be able to do this very quickly. And once you filled this, basically what this is going to do is, you'll notice I put down this, it's a firewall instead of ice, and it's going to shoot my rune bolts. Okay, and it is going to shoot rune bolts, as you notice. It's going to shoot rune bolts fully empowered by my talent tree. That means they're all fire, they all seek, and they all explode. It also does proc Runeweaver. So finally, you will fill out points. I picked this up. It just makes it so that you get a percentage, and it can be up to a maximum of 200. Now, this is very good for bosses, is what I discovered, because when you set your wall down on a boss, you essentially just are guaranteed 200 ward, and you can do this. You can cast it all the time. So I'm probably going to get this With my final point, it just allows you to move the wall and gives you mana regain. It's kind of a quality of life thing. I just don't see anything else I desperately need, to be honest. So I think that this is probably going to be what I do just for quality of life. I have virtually infinite mana though, so I don't really see why I would need more mana, but if I can run my mana out if I spam wall, which I should never really be doing, but what the heck, I figure it's probably good. The only other thing I could do is this maybe, or this, I guess, but don't need them. So that being said, you've seen the abilities. Let's take a quick look at our passive tree. This you have to take, this you have to take, and this you pretty much have to take. This you could probably be flexible with it. In my opinion, it's better than, you know, a lot of these other things. There's not a lot of amazing things. I guess ward retention maybe if you're in hardcore. But yeah, so these are the it's a very simple passive tree until we get to Runemaster. So you're gonna go increase spell damage. You're gonna go increase critical chance. You're gonna get 6 points of this for ignite chance with fire skills. I just didn't feel like I needed more. To be honest, it just didn't really feel like I needed more. A little bit of health and damage reduction in order to unlock Circle of Elements. That's the only reason I took this. And then increased damage over time. More damage to bosses and rares. It's doubled if you have a wall out. So it's very good. That's just increased damage. Increased intelligence and elemental penetration with damage over time. You do a lot of damage over time with this build, so it seems worth it. This is endurance and mana, so what I discovered is endurance is very broken in this game, and if you don't know what that is, below 218 health, I take 43% damage, and obviously when you combine that with Flame Ward and Flame Rush's damage reduction, I'm taking significantly less damage below 218 health, like massively, like 95% reduced damage, so it's very good. It prevents me from dying a lot. Getting increased endurance threshold is good, period. It also scales with your mana. So then it's like, okay, cool. Anytime you get mana, you're more justified in it because it's going to make you more tanky at the same time, if that makes sense. Then Rune Word Inferno is just every time you use a fire skill, you get buffed that grants additional spell fire damage. This gives it more duration, so very cut and dry. Honestly, there's not an insane amount of variability there. It could probably be subtly improved, and I will work on it more and update you guys if I come up with something a little bit more optimized, but you're gonna see that you're very, very broken right now. Last thing I'll talk about is gear. Gear is not complicated. You essentially are going to be going for spell damage. You're going to be going for fire damage. You're going to be going for chance to ignite, cast speed, and then ultimately you're going to want to be topping out your resistances if possible. Mine are not optimized. Physical and necrotic and void are looking pretty rough. I got these though, and that feels okay enough for me right now. Essentially what you're going to want to do is just try to get as much spell and fire damage as you possibly can. So let's go up and open up some endgame content real quick and see if we can't do a little display for this, because it's very easy to play. You're going to have an extremely easy time. I pretty much just instantly am going to drop my Flame Ward and my wall every time. And for speed's sake, like I said, you're not going to have mana issues with this build, and if you do, you know, it's probably just going to be from flame wall spam. But so let's take a look at how much damage we're actually doing. So I'm going to put down the flame wall, and then this is a yeah, I mean that was like that was a large enemy that generally takes a minute to kill. So I don't really, like, here we go. Here's the spiteful. Okay, I haven't even hit, and he's dead. I pretty much don't have to do any work in order to kill everything. I have to do very little in order to kill everything with this build. So but I have virtually unlimited mana. I have a good amount of ward, and also it's extremely safe. So as an example, say I was in very difficult content. I can put my wall over there and then just let it go crazy. and shoot. Oh, legendary boots. I can pretty much just stand all the way on the other side of the map after I put down my wall, and it will kill everything for me. So I don't really see how it gets more brainless than this when I am at 0 risk of dying. All my spells are absurdly long range and safe, so I can drop the wall, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my Elemental Nova anytime it's off cooldown. Most of the time I can't even like actually get to use it. That was a boss. That was the boss of the Echo. So I virtually did nothing, right? I virtually had to do nothing in order to kill that boss. I didn't even realize it was a boss. I just put down my wall and then Elemental Nova'd him like once, and everyone died. So that's the build. I mean, this is not a complicated build. It's very easy to play. It's very fun to play, like super satisfying. And I genuinely don't think that there's that many other easy mage builds. I know there are other good mage builds, but some of them require gear, or you know, maybe they're very tricky to play, or you have to learn the play style. And this is something that you can just destroy all content with. I've watched a lot of my friends play, and you know, no matter what build they've had, it seems like they've struggled at one point or another. And with this build, I just flew through all of the content. And if you are having a hard time, it's probably maybe you need to work on your resistances, armor, or dodge, or whatever. But I didn't even have to do that because, like I just showed you, you essentially just stand. Like, here we go. Like, let's open the rune prison. These enemies are generally pretty hard. So let me just put this on him. I'll E through him, and this is an exiled mage. And so that was, you know, that was that. I basically didn't have to do anything. It's extremely brain dead. I do have a few pieces of good gear. I did acquire this, of course, you know, and this. That does make like this good, but I'm telling you, I used this build before I had all these good items, and I actually originally was using it with Fireball instead of Rune Blast. So if you're not high enough level for Rune Blast yet, just swap everything out for Fireball, and it still pretty much works good enough, at least, until you can switch to Rune Blast. So yeah, that's the build, and if you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I will probably update you with a more optimized talent, or yeah, passive point tree, but it's not gonna, I think, make or break this necessarily. So that being said, thank you for watching, and if you can, drop a subscribe, that'd be huge. I'm a small channel, very new, and I will hit you with some more content probably soon. I've been working on a few ideas for the game, and ideally this is just the beginning. So thank you guys. See ya.